Michael Patrick Shields is on the air.
Good morning, world.
Good morning, Michigan. A very pleasant Tuesday to you. Michael Patrick Shields, heard all across the state of Michigan, and glad to have you with us this morning at 8 minutes after the hour. President Obama leads Donald Trump by 15 percentage points in a hypothetical 2012 matchup. The president is unable to top the 50% level of support, even against an opponent that some people are saying is a joke. It is 8 minutes after the hour. Gary Austin is the anchorman. He is in our American Metal Roof studio here in the Gillespie Group Stadium District building, just a couple blocks from the Capitol. And we're very glad to have you with us this morning, too, Mr. Anchorman. How are you?
Yeah, no joke if Donald Trump runs as an independent.
What do you think of that?
Republicans won't be laughing.
Stop talking about him running as an independent. He's going to run as a Republican.
Well, but if he doesn't get the nomination, he says there's a very good chance, not for sure, if the Republicans turn him down, he will.
Far down the road.
Well, it's possible. You got to start. You got to think about it. Hey, politics.
Obama 49%, Trump 34%. What do you think of that?
Well, it's sizable, certainly.
Sizable.
But now that's one-on-one.
That's
Obama,
the president
Trump.
of the United States versus essentially a billionaire talk show host.
That's assuming Trump gets the Republican nomination.
Yeah, well, it's a head-to-head matchup. Rasmussen has done that poll, by the way, for what it's worth. Don't you? It seems like the president would be beating Donald Trump by more than that when you consider some of the other qualified candidates that are running. I mean, for instance, if you match up Obama versus some of the others, it's a total mismatch. But yet Donald Trump is there 15 points behind.
Well, it's so far out. And really, what do we know about Donald Trump? Not a whole lot. If he does get into the political fray, and it certainly looks like he's headed in that direction, and the really tough questions, he starts getting hit with more things than, President Obama's birth certificate. And he's going to get it if he gets into the fray. Then things will start shaking out. But polling data now, MPS, I think it's kind of early.
Speaking of the birth certificate, an Arizona legislation that would have required presidential candidates to prove they were born in the U.S. passed the House, passed the Senate. There has been vetoed by the governor, Jan Brewer. The birther bill is what they're calling it. And if you wanted to run on the ticket for president in Arizona as presidential candidate, you would have had to show your birth certificate. And that passed, and she vetoed it.
Yeah, that's catching quite a few by surprise. Jan Brewer,
why would she do that?
A Republican. And she has been at odds, I don't know if there's any correlation here. She has been at odds, as we know, with President Obama over the whole immigration business in Arizona. But, it's a good question.
She says she doesn't agree that designating just one person to decide a question that could lead to arbitrary or politically motivated decisions. But if you see the birth certificate, there it is. What's the decision?
Well, I
seems
think
simple to me.
Well, I think the concern here, as Jan Brewer says, that just to focus just on the presidential race isn't right. Perhaps she would be more supportive if all candidates were included in that.
Well, maybe that's so. But why shouldn't it be that way? I mean, you have to show your driver's license, your your driver's license, your ID card, birth certificate for any number of things. You want to get married, don't you have to show a birth certificate?
Yeah, you do.
So you can be president without one, but you got to get married, you got to show your birth certificate.
I don't know. I tell you, the issue's getting a lot of attention, that's for sure.
Seems like a simple thing. It would have given Donald Trump nothing to talk about. Although some people say he's already got nothing to talk about because there was a so-called certificate of live birth.
Yeah.
What's the difference between that and a birth certificate?
Well, I think the bottom line is this. I mean, you just have to, I think it all boils down. Politics boils down to, does it pass the who cares test? And do most American voters really care about this? I mean, if this is a big issue.
It keeps coming up in the news.
It does, but
did you see Sarah Palin now? She's even backpedaling.
Well, it's hit and miss.
She said it was no big deal. Now all of a sudden she says there could be something there.
Well, but these are Republicans making a big deal. I mean, the average Joe and Jane voter, do they really care? I think that's the issue here. And if they really did, I think we'd be hearing more about this, or more of a groundswell. There'd be, we'd hear more average voters talking about it. But I mean, who do you know who says this is a big deal, we ought to pursue it right down to the end?
I'm going to ask every single guest this morning on the program if they care.
That's a good idea. Anybody who calls.
And by the way, the phone lines are open right now, 888-900-9966, 888-900-9966. If you want to ring us in, you hear that? The line is wide open for you right now. Do you care? Would you like to see the president's birth certificate? Do you believe he was born in the United States? 888-900-9966.
And
Ring
this
us
update
right now.
Is a service of American Metal Roofs. Learn more. AmericanMetalRoofs.com, AmericanMetalRoofs.com. Terrific website. Great photos of these metal roofs. They don't look like metal roofs. They look like roofs. I mean,
Snazzy.
in all shapes and sizes,
Copper
colors,
and all the rest.
textures. Yes, call them
Yeah, they
too.
look like shingles.
Yeah, you can't tell. 877-569-4700, American Metal Roofs. You can call them there, 877-569-4700.
But they last forever. And in fact, on Friday, we'll be broadcasting from the American Metal Roof Design Center.
Yep.
So if you're watching on Fox 47, you'll get a look at them. If you're listening on the radio, we'll explain them to you and how they can help you save up to 50% on your energy bills. And buy one roof, and it lasts forever and can improve the resale value of your home and so forth. President Barack Obama, I don't know if the White House has an American Metal Roof, but he and his wife, Michelle Obama, they earned $1.7 million last year, and they paid $453,000 in federal taxes. They also donated $245,000 to charities, according to the White House tax form that they released to the IRS yesterday. You know, everybody had to file by midnight yesterday, including the White House. Vice President Joe Biden and his wife Jill, they had a reported income of $379,000 and paid $86,000 in federal taxes. They contributed $5,000 to charity. So there it is, right there for you.
Very good.
If you're interested in what the president earned, I don't know where they earned $1.7 million, but they must have some interests and that kind of thing.
Hey, got to ask you, this recall effort against Governor Snyder, what do you make of that?
Well, I'm just hearing about it now. Let us know what's going on.
Yeah, we have the group, Michigan Citizens United. Now, this is a long process. You got to file all the paperwork, the petition language, and all that. Well, this has been done. The Washtenaw County Clerk is now looking this over. There's going to be a hearing later this month to determine the actual language, if it will be approved. From there, the group has got to go out and round up a whole bunch of signatures to get this thing on the ballot. And it's made up of union members and others who would like Snyder removed. And they're basing their case on the emergency financial management bill that the governor signed.
They don't like that.
That's the big deal. You know, it'll be curious to see if enough voters. I mean, if this does actually make it up for.
It's got a ways to go yet, mind you.
Sure. I mean, this is miles down the road, but it'll be curious to see. I mean, Snyder won the election. It'll be curious to see in a relative short time if enough voters who gave Snyder the nod to take over the state's top job, if they change their minds based on what's happened in his short tenure in office so far. We'll see.
Bob in Okemos is in the air at 888-900-9966. Good morning to you.
Good morning, MPS.
Thank you, sir.
I would like to mention that birth certificate thing. First thing is you've got to be a citizen of the United States with birth certificate, born in the country, to run for president. It's in the Constitution.
Right.
And secondly, if anybody gets that can of worms open, what's that going to do to every bill that's been passed during this time? What does that do to the laws that have been passed, the rules that have been made? It's a can of worms.
So you're saying, Bob, that if, for example, in the situation involving President Obama, if it finds out the birth certificate doesn't match up, if there is something wrong here, are you saying everything that's been done since the minute he took office to right now could be null and void?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I doubt if Mark Levin knows, and he's a constitutional lawyer.
Because that's never happened before.
That's true. It's never. It's a good question.
That is a good question.
It's in the Constitution. That's all I can tell you.
Well, Bob, that's going to keep us up at night wondering about that one. Because what if they can't find a birth certificate? What if somebody proves he was born somewhere else, the president? What happens to everything that he signed?
Yeah, I guess the question is this whole birth
certificate. Does John McCain get his money back? I mean, what happens?
I don't know. But you know what? I mean, you would think, though, up to this point, if there was, I mean, a birth certificate, I mean, there it is.
Why not just show it?
Somebody would say, hey, here it is, right here.
Maybe they have shown it.
But they have.
Okay, so what's the question?
So what's the big deal then?
It's a certificate of live birth? You think that Donald Trump is just, really, he knows that it's not true and he's just out there saying it?
So the certificate of live birth is different from a birth certificate?
I don't know.
I don't know either. This is new to me. I don't know.
That's what it sounds like.
Yep.
I get 888-900-9966, 888-900-9966. Somebody listening knows right now, and We'll find out.
Well, they'll figure it out.
17 minutes after the hour, your news is brought to you by
Our friends at AmericanMetalRoofs.com, AmericanMetalRoofs.com, also the AARP, a membership group leading positive change and delivering value to people age 50 and over through information, advocacy, and service. An interesting story here. A Macomb County Circuit Court judge has taken up this case involving a Metro Detroit bar. And here's the determination. Interesting here. The bar will not have to pay a $500 fine for breaking state laws by letting customers smoke. This was taken up, a concern here. A bar owner
Could
said
that
it was
reverse
unfair.
the beginning of the reversal of the smoking
I don't,
ban?
you know, it didn't say that, but you never know where
We'll find
this
out.
is heading. Well, it could. You never
Stay
know.
tuned in 4 minutes, and we'll get the answers to your questions. The phones are ringing. We're coming straight to you. It's Michael Patrick Shields, and it's Tuesday. Gary Austin, it turns out that the Obama campaign made a copy of the president's certification of live birth from the state of Hawaii available on the internet back in June 2008. It validated none of the rumors that he wasn't born in Hawaii. The certificate shows his full name to be Barack Hussein Obama II, lists his father's race as African, his mother's as Caucasian, contains no information about religion, and it reports his birthplace as being Honolulu, Hawaii. I mean, but so I'm not sure exactly what gives Donald Trump. That's why when we had David Gregory on the other day from Meet the Press, he said it's nonsense, nonsense, this birther business. But
Yeah, so what's all the
it
fuss
gets a
about?
lot of attention, though.
You know, it does. So is Trump saying that there's something about this certificate that isn't right? Is
That's
that
what he
his-
seems to be saying.
I don't know. It sounds like.
And he's getting a lot of attention. Hey, did you see another air traffic controller is under suspension, this time for watching a portable video player?
And I heard one report on this. I heard a commentator say, well, at least he wasn't sleeping.
At least he wasn't sleeping. He's watching a video player instead of the airplane screen.
Yeah.
The reason they caught him, I guess, he's a frontline manager at Cleveland Regional Control Center, and the FAA says the soundtrack of the movie was broadcast over a radio frequency intended for use by the pilots and controllers,
Whoops.
and that lasted for more than 3 minutes. So, you know, the pilots were flying and listening to the soundtrack of Apocalypse Now or something like that and saying, wait a minute, that doesn't sound like the air traffic controller. Anyway, so two of them now have fallen asleep. One of them's watching a video game. I invite you to fly on this holiday season in full comfort
Well-
and knowledge that you're safe in the skies.
Well, talk about being under the microscope. Now, these folks talk about being under really close scrutiny from here on out. Wow.
Let me
Air
ask you
traffic-
something.
You know, it's a tough job. I mean,
Staying
we know
awake,
that.
sure, what's stressful?
Well, no. I mean, it's stressful, yeah, the job itself.
Let me ask you something. What time do you get up in the morning?
About 2:30 or thereabouts.
Okay, you get up at 2:30 in the morning. And what time do you go to bed typically?
About 7.
7. So how many hours of sleep is that?
Well, see, 7.
I just counted it on my
10,
fingers. It's like 7 hours.
Yeah, you know, it's enough, but in there, one of the dogs may have to go out or something. So that's
So you get up in the night.
yeah, I do. To take care of their, you know, they've got when they want out, they want out. So yeah, I do that occasionally. Yeah, about 7 hours is all I need. You know, I've known some folks, and you know who you are. You can get by on just I've known some people 2-3 hours. That's it. Well, MPS, you're a guy who strikes me. You do so much. You don't get a lot of sleep, do you?
5 hours.
5. That's it. Now, for some people, 5 hours, you know, that wouldn't be nearly enough.
It's not enough.
It's enough. But for you, it
I
is.
catch up on the weekends.
Oh, you do.
Now, let me ask you this. When the alarm goes off,
Mm-hmm.
do you jump right up, or do you lay around for a while, or do you hit the snooze? What do you do?
I'm usually up before the alarm goes off. It's one of those sort of that body clock sort of thing.
Yeah?
You sort of get almost I don't know how that works,
You beat
but
the alarm to it,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
and then do you lay there and wait for the alarm, or you get up?
No, my gosh, no. No, when I'm up, that's it.
Here's some information that I got that it talks about what you should do in the morning. Like right now, you might be listening to us laying in bed saying, oh, I got to get up. Is it time to get up? I think I'll listen to this guy a little bit longer. What am I going to do? So here is some advice. Even if you get your 40 winks, waking up with a jolt that shocks you into submission could bring on the afternoon drag. You get tired in the afternoon if you wake up in the morning. So what are you to do? Stop pounding the snooze button and try these 8 tips on waking up better, okay? One of the suggestions in the morning when you're getting up, like right now, or when you got up a few minutes ago, wake up to music rather than an alarm. Is your an alarm clock one of those jarring blah, 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 or is it a bell, or what is it, Gary, that wakes
Oh,
you
yeah.
up?
Oh, no, mine's just this obnoxious, almost like a squawking.
Yeah. This advice is that you should set it to music somehow. They have clock radio, maybe with a music station on it.
But,
or
for
some
those,
phones have songs instead of,
Yeah.
some people use their phone as an alarm clock. Put
but for those
music
who
on
are-
there instead.
But if you're a deep sleeper, though, how can just like music wake you up?
Well,
Unless it's like really loud.
it's still noisy, but it's not jarring. Instead of blam, 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 it's, something like this. And you roll over and say, oh, that's
Well,
nice.
that'll put you back to sleep.
The Sandman's coming for me. Yeah, you're right. It might have to be something a little bit more, maybe some Lady Gaga. Don't you like that? Wouldn't that get you out of
No,
bed?
that's better.
A little bad romance in the morning, depending on what you were dreaming on. It's a little better. Advice number 2, don't get up right away. While breathing deeply, loosen up, stretch out your limbs from fingers to toes, and they say, pretend you're like a cat waking up from a nap. A cat doesn't jump right up and start running around. A cat rolls over and stretches and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, but what if you doze off again?
Well, I mean, this presumes that you're getting up. The next thing,
Right.
think of the most positive thing that you'll be doing all day.
That's good.
Boy, today I get to X.
That's good.
I get to do this. I got a date with an angel, or I got, lunch with Mother Superior, or whatever it might be.
Yeah, kind of gets the mind working.
Think of
there.
something
That's
nice. There's a song called John of Dreams, and it talks about the hawks of morning. Have you ever heard of this? This
No.
is an Irish song.
No.
And the presumption is that when you wake up in the morning, when you first start to wake up, you've got about 11 seconds before, you're in a dreamlike kind of halfway state for about 11 seconds. And then after that 11 seconds of awareness, suddenly the hawks of morning come. And those are the birds that are telling you, you got to do this today, you got to do that today, don't forget this, don't forget that. So you only have 11 seconds of this blissful dream state before all of a sudden reality sets in.
Yeah, reality. That's
And you're like, oh, God, today I got to file my IRS form, and I'm going to have to shovel the snow out front, and my mother-in-law is coming over, all that kind of stuff. So you have that 11 seconds. And what this is suggesting is think of something positive instead, something that you're looking forward to that day. This is before you even get out of bed.
All right.
Get out of bed slowly, it says. Ease into it. Don't jump up like, you're being attacked. Get out of bed slowly.
But what if you have nothing positive? What if your whole day
geez.
just looks like a mess?
Invent something.
Make something up. Well,
Turn on more and more lights as you go through your routine until every light you see is on. In
Go
other
around the
words,
house,
not
turn
just
on
your
all the
night
lights.
light. You just every time you pass a light switch, turn it on till the
But what
whole
if, like-
house is lit up.
what if like somebody else is in the house sleeping?
Well, then they're going to have to make do in another room or something like that. Like you leave the bedroom, leave that
Right.
dark if they're sleeping with you, and turn on all the other lights as you go along. Just a sort of, if weather permits, step outside for a minute. It says sunshine is one of the strongest ways to tell your body to wake up. Now, in our case, that doesn't work because it's dark when we get up.
You got to turn on the lights. That works.
It's some help. 3 to 5 minutes of easy activity. It has to be easy activity, not push-ups or sit-ups or something like that. Just a little something or other. Move around for 3 to 5 minutes. Pace or walk back and forth, or a little something. Empty the dishwasher. Maybe do your laundry. Little something. And number 8, eat breakfast. Foods low in fat and high in protein. Fiber and carbs provide energy that lasts a long time, like yogurt, fruit, whole wheat breads, and skim milk, or
I think-
Pop-Tarts in your case.
I think most who are hearing this saying, wait, I don't have time for any of that. I mean, for the minute they get out of bed,
Yeah.
whether they take a shower or not, whatever the routine is, getting dressed and
Yep.
just, throwing down some food, making the coffee so they can get out the door in a hurry. I think most people, they have barely enough time to do that, let alone even think about relax. I think the term easing into your day is like so archaic that no one does that anymore. Very few do.
Well,
Unless
that's
you're
the thing.
retired.
We're the race is on for us, and maybe some people exist like that too. But if you have the luxury of easing into your day, it sounds like the overarching theme here.
Yeah.
Ease into your day.
luxury.
Stretch out. Think of something positive. Turn some lights on. Move around a little bit and have a little bit of breakfast. Your day will probably start in a much better fashion.
And I think that's a utopia scenario.
No, you just
that
have to
very
do
few
it one
can
step at
relate
a
to.
time.
I suppose.
Try it a little bit.
Yeah, if you can't do every single one of those that MPS just outlined, try a few of them. It's good.
Okay,
Good
so
advice.
there. Now I got you going there. That's something that might work out
Hey,
for
let's
you.
get back to this
Smoking thing? Yeah,
business.
it doesn't say have a cigarette, does it?
Yeah, no.
'Cause some people do that.
Don't do that.
Get out of bed and light up right away.
And they grab an adult beverage, and don't do that either. That's not.
It's a bar in Metro Detroit,
Yeah, it is.
and they're not going to have to pay the $500 fine for breaking the state law. They let customers smoke, and then what happened?
Well, the long and short of bar owner Boyd Cottrell says the whole thing is not right. He paid the first $100 by way of this fine,
Yeah.
but the rules said he had to pay a second ticket in October. He contested this. It went to court, and you know what a judge said? A judge said, you don't have to pay. Now, he didn't rule the state's no smoking ban unconstitutional,
Why don't they have to pay?
but they don't have to pay. He's off the hook. He doesn't have to pay that second ticket. Now, lawyers from Macomb County said they will not appeal this judge's ruling and added the bar will be treated like all others and will be cited and fined if patrons continue to smoke inside it. However,
They could get fined again.
yeah, but according to this, that second fine has been waived. Now, what this means, and again, it's interesting, the story does note that the judge, however, did not rule the smoking ban unconstitutional, which leads to this question. Could he have the wherewithal to actually do that? And if he did, what would that mean? I
Does
imagine
that
it would-
mean all bets are off?
well, it could. Well, you got to figure, okay, if it reaches that point, there'd probably be a stay because the state health department would get in and say, no, you can't do that. I mean, this is state law. You can't, pick and choose. And then, who knows, it could go to maybe an appellate court, maybe even the Supreme Court. You just wonder, though, if enough bar owners continue to hammer away at this, if enough do what this bar owner in Macomb County, Boyd Cottrell, did, and keep challenging this thing and keep chipping away at it, you kind of wonder if it ever will reach another court challenge. Who knows?
Well, how could they? What if on May 1st, May Day, all the bars said, you know what, we're all going to let someone smoke in here today. And the whole statewide, every bar had somebody smoking in it. What would they do?
I don't know. I mean, can you fine every single one of them? I don't know.
No. What if everybody said, I'm going to run a red light on May 1st? Or
Yeah.
I'm not going to wear my seatbelt?
Yeah.
What if
it's
they
sort of
did that?
Sort of a protest thing. I don't know.
I don't know. But you're right. Now maybe people will be more likely to take their chances. We'll have to
You know,
look more
citing
into it
this
from a
case.
legal standpoint and see
I
what
don't know.
happens next.
It's curious.
Bill Schuette, the Attorney General, would be a good one to talk to about
Yeah.
this, too. We'll reach out to him this morning and see if Bill Schuette's on duty, see what he has to say about this. We bring you politics, and in this case, smoke on the water. He's Gary Austin. I'm Michael Patrick Shields, back in a flash. Well, we're very lucky on this program. We get to go straight to the source sometimes when fast-breaking news is happening, and we're doing that this morning in the light of the news that a Macomb County circuit judge didn't rule the Michigan smoking ban was unconstitutional, but he called some of the language in the ban confusing. It's Judge Edward Servito who has allowed a Warren bar owner to keep his license and did not order him to pay a $500 fine for violating the smoking ban. The Attorney General of the state of Michigan, Bill Schuette, is on duty early this morning, and nice of you to be with us, sir.
Good morning, Michael Patrick. We're just in between eggs for my daughter and my son, so good morning.
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt that precious family time
That's all
like
right. I'm just teasing you, Michael Patrick.
that. What happened at Sporty O'Toole's that they were allowed to let people smoke in their bar without the fine? Do you know?
You know, I don't. I just read the news article today. And Servito's a smart judge, Judge Servito. Now, mind you, this law is confusing because it has one standard for casinos under the gaming law, and then has a separate standard for the rest of, bars, restaurants, VFW halls. And this is an ongoing question, an ongoing issue. I've not read the opinion. My office will look at it, and we'll work with the Department of Community Health and see what happens in the future. But Judge Servito did point out the kind of dichotomy on this law, and there's two separate standards. So people will look at it. In the final end, the legislature will will have to make a decision whether or not this law needs to be tweaked or not. But it took a long time getting it through, so it's probably just the beginning of the conversations you and I will have on this.
And as I understand, that doesn't mean that Sporty O'Toole's won't be subject to another fine down the road.
Well, that's what I read in the paper, and again, I need to read it, thoroughly and look at the opinion as well. But that's your news is as good as mine this morning.
Well, thank you very much. I'm going to get you back to your kids there, and we sure appreciate you being available on short notice like that. And like you said, I guess these things are a work in progress sometimes, so we'll talk again soon. Travel safely.
Okay, we will. Take care. Thank you.
All the best to you. That's the Attorney General for the state of Michigan, Bill Schuette, on duty early this morning. Now, there's some the attorney for Sporty O'Toole's said that the bar offers alcohol, food, and gambling via lottery machines, so it's no different than Detroit casinos, where the gaming floors are exempt from the ban. Now, the other thing is, if you go into a casino in, let's say, Detroit, for instance, a non-Native American casino, you can't smoke in the restaurants or the bars. You can only smoke on the gaming floor. So it's a patchwork, isn't it? It's a patchwork of different ideas about the smoking ban and the gaming and mixing it all up. And so there you have Bill Schuette this morning. A job fair is going to be held next week by LG Chem, and that company is preparing to open a new facility in Holland, Michigan. They're looking to fill 100 jobs. They want technical operators, and they are accepting resumes and applications online. The job fair is going to be at Ridgepoint Church in Holland from 9 in the morning till 4 o'clock on April 26th, and another job fair at the Trillium Banquet Center in Spring Lake. That's on May 18th. If you're interested in working for LG Chem. We're going to have a controversy in Michigan this week, and it's going to make national news. Controversial Florida pastor Terry Jones, who we will attempt to reach for this program, is planning to hold a protest. And he's going to do it in front of the Islamic Center of America, and that's on the border of Dearborn and Detroit. It's on Ford Road there, isn't it, near the Southfield Freeway, and it's going to be on Good Friday. Officials are trying to stop him. Judge Mark Summers has ordered Jones to appear in court Thursday to be questioned by the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office about his protest. They want to know what he's up to, what he's planning. Prosecutors are afraid the Good Friday protest could spark a riot in Dearborn because of the high concentration of people from the Middle East right there in Dearborn. You remember he got international notoriety when he threatened to burn a Koran on September 11th in front of his church in Florida. Well, now on Good Friday, it's Pastor Terry Jones who wants to hold a protest right in front of the Islamic Center of America, right on Good Friday here in Michigan. So we'll be following that story for you, and we'll reach out to Pastor Terry Jones and maybe Judge Mark Summers, too, and we'll find out what this. I'm sure Bill Schuette's watching that one very closely, too. Former Governor Jennifer Granholm wrapping up a memoir with her husband Daniel Mulhern. It's all about her 2 terms leading Michigan. The title, A Governor's Story. And the book is slated for release in September. Apparently on Facebook, the governor said she and her husband were putting the finishing touches on the book. I know they'd been in at least the first round of edits the last time I talked to them. So in September, we'll see a book by Governor Granholm about a governor's story leading Michigan. The House Ways and Means Chair, Republican Dave Camp from Midland, has outraised his colleagues in the Michigan delegation, according to the Federal Election Commission. He represents the 4th District, and he's raised $499,777 from January 1st to March 30th. He's got $1.8 million in the bank. This is his first term as chair. But as a ranking minority member, Camp began to pull in the big bucks last year when it looked like Republicans would take over the House. This according to MERS News. Coming in second place, you're curious about the Michigan delegation? Gary Peters, the Democrat from Bloomfield Township. He's a prime contender, though, to lose his seat in redistricting. Marty Nolenberg is going to challenge Peters, although it's not clear what district he'll be in. Fred Upton did very well, too. He's in third place, the Republican from St. Joseph. He's raised $356,000. Tim Wahlberg raised $251,000 last quarter, and he's got a little bit of debt going there, too. Sander Levin, who could be pitted against Gary Peters, is also doing very well in the fundraising. We'll get to the rest of the list for you when we get back in 4 minutes. It's Michael Patrick Shields, all across Michigan. 10 minutes before the hour, Holy Week. It's Michael Patrick Shields all across the state of Michigan. Three Democrats at risk of losing their seats in the Michigan delegation, the House of Representatives. Hanson Clark, John Conyers, and John Dingell are all banking money, and we'll have to figure out after the redistricting who goes where, who runs where, and that's all coming. You can get full coverage of that right here on this program. But Dave Camp, the Republican from Midland, is outraising all of his colleagues. That's the story there. Napoleon teachers have voted to authorize actions up to and including a walkout. A walkout, is that different than a strike? In response to state proposals that the Michigan Education Association considers hostile to its members. No word so far, patchwork of word, I would say, on the outcome of similar votes taken by other local affiliates of the union. We reached out to the Michigan Education Association yesterday. They said they didn't have any information on whether or not the teachers voted to strike in various districts. And they've asked their local presidents to vote by last Thursday, on whether to authorize job actions, is what they're called. And so we'll continue to reach out to the Michigan Education Association and find out if, in fact, some of the governor's cuts go through, if, in fact, that could result in a teacher strike or a walkout. And we're trying to pay attention to that so you can find out how that would affect your kids and their education. The Grand Rapids School Board, for instance, they know how deep the cuts will be. They have to cover a $23 million deficit. District officials say they have a plan to cut at least $13 million from the budget through staffing cuts, building closings, and program consolidations. There would be no more cuts to arts or music programs, and there will be no pay-to-play fees for sports. The formal budget is going to be presented next month. Art Prize organizers are changing some rules to offer more artists a chance to show their work and win. The top 10 finishers in this year's event are going to be banned from participating next year, but they can come back in 2013. Registration opened yesterday for that public art event, which will be held in several venues around Grand Rapids in September. So if you finish in the top 10 this year, you can't come back next year, but you can come back in 2013. I guess they want to share the wealth, pardon the pun there, at Art Prize in Grand Rapids. Speaking of wealth, maybe your wealth is seeping away because of gas prices. Regular unleaded averaged $3.96 a gallon in Michigan on Monday. That's up $1.05 from a year ago. Small cars are what people are turning to, and so small cars, believe it or not, are starting to cost a little more because they're at a premium right now because people figure they'd rather buy a small car and save money on gas. Haley Barbour, the Mississippi governor, potential presidential candidate, has had surgery to relieve lower back pain. He's 63 years old. The Republican traveled extensively during his whole life. Walking and sitting on airplanes has caused discomfort, so he had a little back surgery. A 12-year-old girl is accused of trying to rob a grocery store in Highland Township, and the father says his daughter may have had a motive. The man says he and his wife are going through a divorce, and the girl could have been trying to get money to help make payments on her mother's home. The 12-year-old is accused of stealing a gun and attempting to rob a market on North Milford Road last Friday. She's being charged as a juvenile and being held at Oakland County's Children's Village without bond, due in court on April 26th. How sad that a 12-year-old thinks she's got to steal a gun in order to help her mother make her house payment there in Highland Township. Stocks were in a rough patch yesterday after Standard & Poor's downgraded the long-term credit outlook for the United States to negative. Dow was down about 200 points. Oil prices fell. The S&P lost 15, and the NASDAQ lost 29. We've reached out to our market experts this morning and hope to understand what that means exactly. Larry King is going to deliver his first special for CNN following his departure from the cable news network last year. It's going to air on Sunday, May 1st, and it's going to focus on a group of people whose lives have been altered by Alzheimer's disease. As usual with Larry King, he's got some big guests. He's got former First Lady Laura Bush, Maria Shriver, the Alzheimer's activist, Ron Reagan, the son of former President Ronald Reagan, and Terrell Owens. It'll be called Unthinkable, the Alzheimer's Epidemic. We never let the birthday of a beautiful woman pass without taking note. Ashley Judd is 43 today, the actress. Kate Hudson is 32, received an Academy Award for Almost Famous, and tennis star Maria Sharapova is 24. Yesterday, the Red Wings won late, beating the Phoenix Coyotes. They lead that series in the desert now 3-0. The opening round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. The Tigers opened a 3-game series against the Mariners with an 8-3 win in Seattle last night. And a Rochester Hills woman nearly became the first American to win the Boston Marathon in 26 years, but finished the race just 2 seconds out of first place. Desiree Davila ended the marathon with a time of 2 hours, 22 minutes, and 36 seconds, coming in second to Kenyan runner Caroline Killel. She's a native of California, but moved to Rochester Hills and almost made Michigan the winner of yesterday's Boston Marathon. Peter Kunmensch is with us just for a second here. He's lobbying Capitol Hill to change some of the laws related to the auto insurance business in the state of Michigan. Are people really not buying auto insurance because it costs too much in our state, Peter?
Well, Michael Patrick, good morning. Yeah, we do see a high rate of uninsured here in the state of Michigan, and there are several factors behind that. Insurance in Michigan is somewhat unique compared to most states on the auto side because Michigan, unlike any other state, requires us to purchase an unlimited lifetime medical benefit as part of that policy. And we think in light of all the challenges we face as a state, and because of those increasing costs, we ought to try to address those concerns with some legislation here in our state capital.
Well, we're in the state capitol, Peter, this morning, and your voice is heard by legislators all across Michigan. We'll see where it goes from here. Some legislators will join us coming up shortly. In fact, politics is our family business. It's Michael Patrick Shields back after the news. Good morning, Michigan. A very pleasant Tuesday to you. Michael Patrick Shields, heard all across the state of Michigan, live in our American Metal Roof studio. Coming up shortly, we're going to meet Gerald Blaine, the author of The Kennedy Detail. He was a United States Secret Service agent on that fateful day in Dallas, Texas, when the President of the United States was assassinated. He will be with us. He's written about it in The Kennedy Detail, and he is in Michigan and will be available later today for a speech. And we'll tell you all about that coming up shortly. Your calls would be welcome, too, at 888-900-9966. That's 888-900-9966 if you want to talk to United States Secret Service agent Gerald Blaine, the former Secret Service agent, eyewitness to one of the most tragic moments in U.S. history. The phone number is 888-900-9966. It's 8 minutes after the hour. Michael Patrick Shields here in the studio with you. We're joined this morning in our American Metal Roof studio by Frank Foster, the state representative, Republican from Pellston. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael Patrick.
Thanks for being available. Let me ask you, just in terms of politics, there's a Rasmussen poll that shows President Barack Obama 49%, Donald Trump 34%. Is that close?
Well, I think if you're Donald Trump, that's close. If you're President Obama, that's probably not a poll he's taken too much credit for.
But he doesn't get 50%.
He doesn't, but still 49% at this time in the year with all the budget that's going on. That's still pretty good for a sitting president.
You think so?
I think so.
Do you think at the White House they say Trump gets 34% and he's a joke?
Again, I don't know if they're even looking towards Donald Trump as the real player. But in a crowded,
maybe they better.
In a crowded Republican primary, who knows? You know, you've got the front runners, the usuals. Mitt Romney, Newt Gingrich, Huckabee's gearing up in South Carolina. But
yeah, there's a big slate right now. People thinking about running.
In a crowded primary, anything can happen.
But I don't know that any of them have 34%.
No, I don't think so.
And they're qualified.
Well, he's got to start
Is he qualified?
Donald Trump?
Yeah.
It depends on who you ask.
Well,
he probably wouldn't get my vote.
Who cares about qualifications anymore?
That's
anyway?
right.
I mean, it's a whole new ballgame, isn't it, really?
Yeah, he can get the publicity, and who knows if he'll stay in this thing for the end game. But I don't know if he can pull enough of the middle.
Did you feel qualified to be a state representative when you were elected?
Well, I think in the era of term limits, I would say yes.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's got there's an education process there for everybody, and it's just as hard as you want to work, as much as you want to learn and retain. But I feel everyone thinks it's kind of an ominous task, especially with the budget deficit, the debt load we're carrying, and I think the pressure of trying to create a new tax system in a kind of a structurally sound budget for the state looking forward. I think, yeah, so everyone might feel a little underqualified with those challenges.
Well, that's the truth of the matter, isn't it, really? Mm-hmm. Who is qualified? I mean, what age were you elected?
24.
Okay, so you were obviously, you're older than your age. You must have been active well before the average bear.
Well, I started at Grand Valley as student body president, trying to fight for equity in education, access to higher education. Then I took a fellowship with Mayor Hartwell in Grand Rapids, and then moved out to D.C. to interned for Pete Hoekstra.
Yeah.
And so
You saw it all.
yeah, kind of at the local level, the D.C. level, and just most decisions happen local. My family's been in northern Michigan for over 100 years, and I really wanted to stay in this state. And the option for a job wasn't there, downstate. I would have had to move out of state, and so we wanted to help small business out. Small businesses like my family's, and so here we are.
Do you already feel the pressure of getting reelected?
I think everyone does, but you shouldn't let that cloud your decisions. If everyone was looking at polls like you showed and basing decisions off of that, we wouldn't get anything done, and we'd have the status quo. So I think that I applaud the people that have been elected, at least to state government, for not for kind of turning a deaf ear to the media, so to speak, listening to their constituents, of course, vetting this tax plan, this budget, but then I think moving Michigan forward is going to be something that's maybe not very poll worthy.
There's a recall effort now underway against Governor Snyder. Do you pay attention to things like that? I guess it's Michigan Citizens United.
I think so. I just talked to Representative Schmidt, who's up in Cadillac and the governor's breakfast up there, and there's a few protesters wherever the governor goes. But again, Governor Snyder's not going to let that bother him, and I don't think we should let that bother us.
Do you think the teachers will strike? What are you hearing?
I think it'd be very unfortunate if they did, and not just unfortunate for the children that they teach, but also for their cause. If you take a look at since the last census, Michiganders, 21%, they've lost about 21% of their wealth on average. And in some counties like mine in northern Michigan, we've got 20% unemployment. So how's that argument going to go when you strike because you don't want to pay 20% in towards your health care costs?
Everybody could
and
strike.
You're sitting next to someone that hasn't had their job for a year or 2 years.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it gives their argument much weight. And if it really is about education, then they're not going to step outside the classroom.
We're in a new normal, aren't we?
Yeah, I believe so.
Are you hearing anything about? I've only heard very anecdotal results of this vote that the teachers were supposed to have taken in their districts as to whether or not they would authorize a walkout or a strike.
Sure. I hope they're not even organizing like that. I think that they need to come together and talk as their unions would have them do. But all you can do is get into the classrooms, talk to the teachers, talk to the superintendents back in your districts, and try to negate something like that. At the end of the day, if they're going to strike or if they're all going to get sick on a certain day, then that's going to happen. You can't avoid that. But you hope they have the kids' education in mind.
We are in our American Metal Roofs studio. You can find them at AmericanMetalRoofs.com. It's in the Gillespie Group Stadium District building right here on the Avenue of Michigan, just a couple blocks from the Capitol. State Representative Chuck Moss, the Republican from Birmingham, is on the other end of our line. He is the House Appropriations Chair and a cover boy, from what I could see, walking through Birmingham this weekend. He was on the front page of the Birmingham Eccentric. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael Patrick.
We are here with Frank Foster here, the state representative from Pellston. And one of the questions I wanted to ask both of you, particularly yourself, Chuck Moss, is that a Macomb County circuit judge has allowed that a bar called Sporty O'Toole's doesn't have to pay the fine for allowing people to smoke inside the bar. The attorney said, hey, we have alcohol, we have food, we have gambling via lottery machines, so we're no different from the Detroit casinos, which have the smoking ban exempt on their gaming floors. And we talked to the Attorney General a little bit earlier this morning. He says we're going to be looking into it. But what do you think happens next? Is this the beginning of the end of the smoking ban?
Well, if you're going to put gambling in every bar, that's a novel theory. I had not heard that one, but who knows? That's what we have courts for. I don't think that the bill was intended to promote gambling in bars, but this kind of put an end to smoking in bars. But does that mean if I bet on the NCAA brackets or I bet on the hockey game that becomes a gambling? It's like the old sign that says this is a work-free smoke place. I don't know. That's a new one.
Yeah, so I mean, the judge said they're not going to take away the license. You don't have to pay the fine. I'm not saying that the law is unconstitutional, but that's that case closed.
He's just not going to enforce it.
Right.
Right, and they haven't been really enforcing it all over the state anyway. The health department,
is that right?
Who it falls on, and I'll give it a little different perspective. I understand what this business owner's talking about. In my district, in northern Michigan, in all the big towns, I'll say big because that's relative.
Yeah.
There's casinos in Petoskey, St. Agnes, Sault Ste. Marie, Brimley, and if you're a little bar owner outside those casinos and someone wants to have a beer, have a cigar, or have a cigarette, they're going to go to the casino now, and they're going to avoid that small business. So I guess in a way I applaud that small businessman for taking the initiative to create something different. But again, this is a personal property, right? And this is a choice.
A lot of bars have lottery machines, Representative Moss.
They all
could
have
all
Keno.
make the case. And you're a
Yeah.
cigar smoker, so I'm not sure, where you fall. What do you think about this? I mean, could it be reversed? Is there a movement to do that?
Me, no. I have not seen any real movement to reverse the smoking ban. Remember, it was overwhelmingly popular. I mean, among general public at large, this wasn't something that was 51%. Huge majorities wanted it, which is why it happened. And I don't see any real credible move to overturn it. Of course, opponents are very, they're welcome to do it. Sounds like a judge in Macomb. Well, maybe that'll go up to the Supreme Court, but I do not think that we intended it to encourage gambling in bars. But like I said, let's take it through the system. But that was not the idea. Was that you can smoke if you gamble. It was because the casinos were exempt because of various they had various legal we call them loopholes.
Well, they
special
pay
case.
a lot of money in taxes. Isn't that the bottom line?
Yeah. The Detroit delegation just wanted it, and that was all there was.
They've earned it.
Hey, I saw you in MERS News quoted. They asked you, were we on target June 1st to have a budget passed, and maybe the governor could sign it at the Detroit Regional Chamber Policy Conference. We'll be broadcasting from that event. Is that possible?
Well, we're on target for the House. I mean, I don't know what the governor has said. He wants it done by the 30th. I'm sure if we got it done by the 1st, he wouldn't turn up his nose at it. The Senate is on its own timeline, and you have to talk to senators about that one. We're still on timeline for getting it done by June 1. Okay. Now, I don't know whether you sign it on the island or sign it on the ferry or sign it on the Shepler's dock or whatever, but I just want to see the House budgets done by June 1st.
You sign it as fast as you can. I think.
And we'll have a cigar on the porch of the Grand to celebrate,
no, we
won't we,
can't.
Chuck?
We're not
Oh, that's
allowed
right.
To,
We
unless
can't.
they
Can
gamble. Tell them they got to put a slot machine on the porch, then it's okay.
I'll talk to Danny Musser.
Yeah, maybe he could put a Keno machine up there. No, they put.
Or maybe we can bet on the horses as the carriages go by.
Ooh, now we're getting creative. Mackinac Island's going to look a lot different this year. Just kidding, of course. I know people get riled up about that. Thank you very much, State Representative Chuck Moss, the Republican from Birmingham, and Frank Foster from Pellston. You on your way up north?
I am. We have tax policy on Wednesday, so we'll continue to vet the governor's proposal.
All right, travel safely.
Thank you,
appreciate
sir.
it. That's Frank Foster. It's 18 minutes after the hour. Michael Patrick Shields, witness to one of the most tragic moments in U.S. history. You will witness him when we get back. Eyewitness to one of the most dramatic and tragic moments in U.S. history. Former U.S. Secret Service agent Gerald Blaine will speak today at Michigan State University on campus at 10:20 in the morning. Guests of Michigan State University's Institute for Public Policy and Social Research and the College of Social Science. If you can believe it, this event is free. It's open to the public. 10:20 this morning at Michigan State University. You can meet the man who's written The Kennedy Detail, his memories of that day in Dallas, that fateful day when President Kennedy was assassinated in the motorcade. And he's with us here in our American Metal Roof studio this morning, here just a couple blocks from the Capitol. In fact, good morning, and thank you so much for being available.
Well, thank you.
Where do you begin with someone who has witnessed to history like yourself? I mean, can you just tell us in your own words what you saw?
I was not in Dallas that day.
Mm-hmm.
I was in Austin, Texas, when I received word that the president had been shot. With me today and talking to the group will be Clint Hill, who was on the follow-up car and who made it to the presidential car too late, but saved Mrs. Kennedy from going off the back of the car.
Yeah.
The book itself was compiled by the agents that were on the Kennedy detail. We wanted to set the record straight. Unfortunately, over the last 47 years, there have been so many bizarre theories, theories such as the driver of the follow-up or the presidential car pulling a handgun and turning around and shooting the president, an agent in the follow-up car accidentally firing the rifle and hitting the president. And it seemed like these theories came out once an agent would pass away, he was fair game. And one of those agents was Emory Roberts. And that is one of the reasons that we're here today. Emory Roberts was a shift leader for the shift in Dallas. And Emory was one of the true heroes of that day, and we were invited here by the Roberts family, and want to pay honor to him. And a number of the Kennedy detail agents were Michigan State graduates, including the agent in charge, and we had 2 other agents who won the Silver Star in World War II that were Michigan State graduates. So we felt it was essential we come here.
Well, thank you very much for that. Will we ever know what really happened? Are you convinced we know what happened that day?
Yes.
You are.
We wanted to fill in the gaps, and we researched everything. If there were conflicts in reports, we would resolve those. And a couple of times the daily shift report was a little bit different than a person's individual report. So we wanted to assure 100% accuracy, and that's what the book is about. The tragic thing today, according to USA Today, is that 82% of the youth between 19 and 29 believed President Kennedy's death was a conspiracy. And it was not a conspiracy.
It was Lee Harvey Oswald
acting alone.
Acting alone. There was no grassy knoll. There was, it was from the book depository, chapter closed.
I asked the curator of the 6th floor museum in Dallas, where was this person on the grassy knoll? He said, which one? He said, in the last 40-some years, we've had 70 different sightings.
A militia.
A militia, that's right. They were having an assassins convention in Dallas.
Right before your eyes. You know, you talk about crazy theories, and as I looked at the news this morning coming out of London, there was news in the Daily Mail. The question was, JFK killed because of his interest in aliens? There's a secret memo showing the president demanded the UFO files 10 days before his death, and that resulted in the assassination. They didn't want him to find out the truth about the UFOs. Now, this is printed in the Daily Mail, which is a serious paper. In a serious manner.
I know. They're all serious. The problem is that each one of those theories has an enemy. It's either the CIA, the FBI, the Secret Service, organized crime, the left wing, the right wing, and President Johnson was another one. Accusations.
Some people
were
say that.
And so what has this left the youth with? A total distrust of government. And so that's why we decided to write the book. They're all my age. And
the book is called The Kennedy Detail, and it details the operations of the Secret Service in the early 1960s. Did you work with President Eisenhower?
Yes.
What was he
did.
like?
He was a general to us, and we were agents to him. We all had a total admiration for him. The agents were born between 1907 and 1936, and they had gone through the most tumultuous years in U.S. history, and they loved the country, they loved him. Very quiet, did not run into crowds. Most of the time he was in a closed-top limousine. President Kennedy was, he was our television president. He had charisma, he had a young family, a beautiful wife, just a terrific individual. And but his forte in politics was being with the people, shaking hands. We always had the top off the presidential limousine. We knew the exposure was there, but and he did too. So,
he did.
Yeah.
But he insisted.
He talked about that the morning that he was assassinated.
He did?
Yes.
What did he say?
Mrs. Kennedy asked him, this was the first time she'd been with the Secret Service in a motorcade, and she said, you know, what's their role? So he explained that, and he was talking too with Kenneth O'Donnell, who was his aide. And he concluded, he said, you know, it would not be difficult to get the president. All you have to do is have a rifle with a high position, and that would be it. And unfortunately, that was it.
What was, when you got the news in Austin, your initial reaction?
It's like somebody hit me in the stomach. I couldn't believe it. There are not many jobs in the world you can be 100% failure at. Being a bodyguard for President Kennedy, we were all 100% failure. And that guilt came over us, all of us, anybody who had ever worked with President Kennedy. And we never, ever emotionally discussed the assassination with each other. Not until June of last year. We had a reunion in Dealey Plaza, and it was filmed for the Discovery Channel. And fellas I didn't think could shed a tear, including myself, broke down on camera. And it was the first time we discussed it.
He was a beloved president.
Oh, terrific.
But you've also worked in your subsequent years professionally in the international gas and oil business as a security man, as I understand it. I just saw a report this morning that once again, big gas and oil is the most despised industry in the world. So you went from a beloved president to an industry where things could get tough from time to time.
Well, I went first to work for IBM, developing law enforcement and criminal justice systems such as the National Crime Information Center and the CIA Walnut system, which kept track of the KBG, now keeps track of terrorists. And I did that. Then I went to work for the International Oil Company. So I spent time in Algeria, the Middle East, Yemen, Syria, Russia, China, all over the world.
What a fascinating life.
Well, it was my job to keep everybody alive and safe, and that it was an interesting experience.
Hollywood tends to glamorize this, but you would have taken a bullet for the president if you had to?
You know, nobody's faster than the speeding bullet, but our job, we only had 5 agents with the president at any one time. And our job was to cover him and evacuate him. And unfortunately in Dallas, Clint Hill immediately saw the president bring his hands up to his throat on the first shot, and he left the follow-up car. He had to run 15 miles an hour because the motorcade was going 11 miles an hour, and he still didn't make it by the time the third shot hit.
These are the details that we'll be hearing today at 10:20 a.m. at Michigan State University, and the book is called The Kennedy Detail. And if you come there today, you can meet Gerald Blaine in person, the U.S. Secret Service agent that joined us here this morning. Thank you very much. What an honor to meet you. I'm a very lucky fellow to be able to do that, and you can do it today at Michigan State University or Google up The Kennedy Detail and buy the book, and we hope you will. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Fascinating discussion this morning at 35 minutes after the hour. It's Michael Patrick Shields, and thank you very much for reminding us of the Michigan connection to history, grim though it was. It's 35 after the hour. I'm Michael Patrick Shields. Well, there's no question our Northwood University leader of the day is the man you just met, Gerald Blaine, the author of The Kennedy Detail. Various agents have contributed, obviously, to the book. The former U.S. Secret Service agent. He'll be at Michigan State University at 10:20 today. That's in the MSU Union in the parlors B and C on the second floor, because that's a big building, but the public is welcome. Seats remain available. Witness to history. Gerald Blaine is our Northwood University leader of the day. They're celebrating 51 years of producing leaders and celebrating free enterprise. It's 20 minutes right now before the hour. President Obama leads Donald Trump by 15 percentage points, according to Rasmussen, in a hypothetical 2012 matchup. That is a victory, isn't it not, for Donald Trump to keep President Obama from getting past the 50% mark? If Trump is serious about running, President Obama and his wife Michelle earned $1.7 million last year. They paid out $453,000 in federal taxes and donated $245,000 to charity. They had to file their taxes yesterday, just like you and I did. and lots of small business owners across the state of Michigan and across America yesterday were looking at the year and saying, how did I do personally? We're talking about small business owners, and we always do on this program. It's 19 minutes now before the hour. Andy Hetzel, the Vice President of Corporate Communications from Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, is on the other end of our line. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael. How are you?
Good. In this economy where some people are sort of rethinking the direction they take, some people are starting businesses, some people have small businesses that they're trying to manage, and one of the issues when you own a small business is how do you provide health care, if you provide health care, for your employees? Where do they normally begin? Because it seems like it could be a daunting task.
It is, and it's a very important issue, probably second most after meeting the payroll, is how do you continue to afford benefits. And Michael, here at Blue Cross, we're very aware of the sensitivities of business owners across Michigan to the cost of health insurance. We're trying to address that in a couple of ways. One is by helping to address the rising cost of health care, and we're working with some of the best doctors and all of Michigan's hospitals on programs that are improving the quality of care that is delivered in the health setting, increasing the efficiency of the healthcare system, and we're saving millions of dollars in the process. And ultimately, a lot of business owners really, when they take a look at the premiums that they're paying, they're not seeing the tangible benefit of those programs because their premiums keep going up. But I have to tell them and reassure them that they would be going up by much greater degrees have not the hospitals and the doctors and Blue Cross been working so hard at improving quality of care in Michigan.
Well, one of the things that when somebody gets health insurance through their company that they worry about is, are there going to be enough doctors? Am I going to have to wait in line? Is it going to be tough to get an appointment? And what about where I live? I live in an area where will I be able to, do I have to travel a long way to see a doctor? Are those the sort of issues that people ask about when they get health insurance through their company?
Sure. A business owner that's providing coverage wants to know that there are doctors and hospitals in the area that the business is located for their employees to access health services. And frankly, that's one of the strengths that Blue Cross really delivers to the state of Michigan. The size of Blue Cross, the size of our network across the state, the physicians and hospitals that work with us to open the doors for health care to people, they are literally everywhere in Michigan. So that's really one of the assets that Blue Cross delivers to the state of Michigan and the people here, and it's consistent with our mission to provide statewide access to health care services. That's a statutory mission that Blue Cross alone has. So we pride ourselves on being big enough to be able to provide statewide access.
And I suppose when you own a small business, you say, well, I've only got 3 employees versus someone who's got 60. It's not one size fits all, is it, or is it?
No, it's not one size fits all, and Michael, Blue Cross has changed a lot in recent years, from the plans that we offer just to the approach that we take to the marketplace to recognize that businesses are different. They're different based on their size. They're different based on where they're located in the state. And we have plans that are very revolutionary. Healthy Blue Living was launched by Blue Care Network 5 years ago. It's the 5th birthday of that product this year. It was the first product in the state to lower premiums for employers and employees when the employees committed to working with their doctors toward better health. And it's a reward for the employees that recognizes that healthier people cost less to cover. So in return for that, Blue Care Network rewards them by lowering their cost. And Blue Cross in recent years has launched a number of products, Healthy Blue Outcomes, Healthy Blue Incentives, Healthy Blue Living Rewards is the latest Blue Care Network product that are along those lines, that reward people for healthier behaviors. We think it's important to the future of health care and health insurance to be able to provide these benefits to people for doing the right thing.
So it's a health insurance company that's not just there when you're sick. They're involved from the beginning.
We very much want our members to be healthy, and we provide a lot of tools and resources both within our products and online and on the phone to help our members pursue better health. We are champions of walking and healthy eating. We have Blue Health Connection, our 24-hour nurse line for our members. We have online tools at bcbsm.com. These are all aligned toward creating healthier people in the state and lowering the cost of health care for businesses.
So if I'm a small business right now, either I have insurance or I'm starting a small business, I want to know where to begin with Blue Cross. You seem to be Michigan's insurance company. Where do they go?
We've created a special website for small and mid-sized businesses. It's bcbsm.com/grow. The reason we called it that is we want small businesses to grow. We recognize the cost of health care is an impediment to that growth, and we want to provide solutions that work with them to grow and to become successful in the market.
Okay, April showers bring May flowers. We're all about growth here, and so is Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. Thank you very much, Andy Hetzel. So if you're a small business owner, maybe that's where you begin right now, keeping your employees healthy. 14 before the hour, the sports story coming next. Yesterday afternoon, I had a little bit of time, and I have that on-demand service, so I was flipping through the movies. And just keep that music up, Tony, if you would, because I was flipping through, and I saw Smokey and the Bandit. And I hadn't seen that movie in, I don't know, 20 years or something like that at least. You remember this music as the theme song from Smokey and the Bandit. And so I watched it. It's only a 90-minute movie, so it went by really quickly while I was doing some work. That movie was so funny. And it was so simple. And that role that Jackie Gleason played as that Sheriff Buford T. Justice, you know, at his age, to be able to pull that off, and it was a completely different character than Ralph Cramden or anything else that he'd ever played. Jackie Gleason in that role was absolutely fantastic. And Sally Field in her role as Frog, they called her, and then Jerry Reed in the truck, and Burt Reynolds in the Trans Am. What an iconic movie for its time. And it was a little bit saucy and a little bit salty and a little bit cheeky and even a little bit politically incorrect. But, man, when they were eastbound and down, taking that Coors beer across the state lines. Remember that? You couldn't get Coors beers east of the Rockies. And if you did, it was bootlegging. But people always wanted it because it was something they couldn't have. And he was taking 400 cases of Coors and trying to get to Texarkana and back in 28 hours, man. That was just a real great blast from the past yesterday. Eastbound and down. Smokey and the Bandit. Bandit was Burt Reynolds. Do we have a little clip of the picture we can listen to right now that's clean?
Hold up in that car wash, gentlemen.
Yeah. That's Buford T. Justice. He catches some kids trying to strip a car.
Whoops.
Gives him a little kick in the stomach.
You look tired, boy. Rest yourself.
And he had to put his hands on the car there, and then he marches down to the other two.
Punks look tuckered out, too. That's an attention getter.
Yeah, he gave him a little kick in the stomach there. Buford T. Justice, and he had his son in the car with him, the sheriff that was supposed to get married, and he says, "There is no way that you came from my loins. When I get home, I'm going to punch your mama right in the mouth." It was really something else. Smokey and the Bandit yesterday was a little treat for you. Now, maybe you couldn't stay up late last night watching these sporting events that were going on, but there's big impact on the state of Michigan. The Red Wings were out in Glendale, Arizona for Game 3 of the opening round of the Stanley Cup Finals. They led the Coyotes 2-0. Game 3 with radio broadcaster Ken Cow.
Thanks, Michael Patrick. Valtteri Filppula netted the game-winning goal early in the second period, and Jimmy Howard stopped 28 shots, leading the Red Wings to a 4-2 win over the Phoenix Coyotes last night in Glendale, Arizona. The Red Wings lead the best-of-7 series 3-0. Game 4 will be played on Wednesday night. Detroit jumped out to a quick 2-0 lead as Ruslan Saleh and Drew Miller scored 44 seconds apart in the first 2 minutes and 41 seconds of the first period. Both teams traded goals in the middle frame. Filppula made it 3-0 Red Wings, but David Schlemko netted a power play goal to put the Coyotes on the board. It was 3-1 Detroit after 40 minutes. Johan Franzen scored his 37th career playoff goal 45 seconds into the third period on a breakaway. Ray Whitney, the former Red Wing, scored on the power play to round out the scoring for Phoenix. Detroit outshot the Coyotes in the contest 34-30. Again, the final score in Game 3, Detroit 4 and the Phoenix Coyotes 2. That's the story from Glendale, Arizona. Now back to you, Michael Patrick, in the studio.
Thank you very much. The Tigers open a 3-game series against the Seattle Mariners out in Seattle, Washington, and Rich Kincaid has the report.
Johnny Peralta's bases-loaded triple was the big hit in the Tigers' big inning, a 6-run rally in the 7th that broke a 2-2 tie as Detroit beat the Mariners 8-3. Max Scherzer got the win, batting 7 in 6 innings. Bad news on the injury front. Victor Martinez left the game early with a groin pull. Nobody knows how long he'll be out. And Joel Zamaya's comeback hit the wall yesterday as the flamethrower was put on the 60-day disabled list. Not everybody comes back from that list. But the good news, the Tigers have won 5 of their last 7. They play again tonight in Seattle at 10:10. Tigers 8, Seattle 3 in the series opener last night. I'm Rich Kincaid Back to you, Michael Patrick.
Well, thanks. A Rochester Hills woman nearly became the first American to win the Boston Marathon in 26 years, but she ended up finishing the race just 2 seconds out of first place. Desiree Davila ended the marathon with a time of 2 hours, 22 minutes, and 36 seconds, coming in second to Kenyan runner Caroline Killel. Native of California, but moved to Rochester Hills to train. And Lisa Larsden Weidenbach from Battle Creek, the last one for the U.S. back in 1985. So Michigan's got a pretty good record there in the Boston Marathon. There is an Amber Alert that's been issued this morning for 2 toddlers missing from the Grand Rapids area, believed to be in extreme danger. Vernon Lee Tad Williams, 3 years old, and Camden Carice Lee, 1 year old. Last seen with Vernon's father, Vernon Lee Williams. He's 28 years old, from Wyoming, Michigan, according to the East Grand Rapids Department of Public Safety. The children are in the company of another with intent to harm the child, or who has confirmed criminal history or harming children, and sexual assault, domestic assault, and is suicidal. They were last seen at 8:30 Monday near Blodgett Hospital in East Grand Rapids. According to investigators, they're traveling in a green Chrysler Sebring, license number BZS 9767. The 3-year-old is in a brown sweatsuit with an orange and white stripes and black gym shoes, 3 feet tall. The 1-year-old is 2 feet tall, 28 pounds. No clothing description available. Vernon Lee Williams himself is 5 foot 6 inches tall, 170 pounds, with a tattoo on his neck. Call the police immediately if you see anything that looks like that. Thank you very much for being with us, television viewers, radio listeners. Senator Stabenow will join us in the next hour. I'm Michael Patrick Shields.
Come and play.